this is Rob Pauw. Today in Tacx Turbo Talks, we're talking to Caleb Ewan from Lotto Soudal about sprinting in the Giro d'Italia. It's Wednesday the 15th of May. It's the day after our special guest just ran out of road to win stage 4 of this year's Giro d'Italia. Welcome Caleb Ewan, and thanks for coming on and being on the line from Italy.
Hey, thanks for having me.
What's that emotion this morning, the day after? Is it still disappointment, or is it just confidence from being up there in such a difficult finale?
Well, to be honest, when you come so close to a win like that, and where I guess in the end timing was really the difference between winning or losing, you kind of replay it over and over in your mind and think of what you could have done better or played different scenarios. But yeah, I mean, now I just need to look forward to today, and it should be another sprint today. I think it's going to be quite tough in the start, but it should be another sprint.
Is there something when you played that video over and over in your head that you now think you could have done differently? Jumping straight on that wheel, or when Carapaz went, or did you bank on that Ulissi would close it?
I was kind of banking on maybe some of the more of the climbers to close that gap, but I don't know, because when you think back to the moment, you can't remember exactly how you were feeling, and I probably wasn't feeling that great because we're basically at the top of the climb, and I even started my sprint, I think, with 300 meters to go, so it was quite long to do the sprint as well. So I needed to, I think at the time I would have just been thinking that I needed to do my own race and leave it as late as possible, because I can't sprint from 400 or 500 out. But I mean, if I could go back into the same scenario, then I would probably have tried to jump straight on his wheel.
And is that then maybe the most difficult thing for being a sprinter immediately, like making that decision, like in a split second, what you're going to do?
Yeah, I think you lose so many races by small little decisions in the end, and I think that's one of the hard parts about being a sprinter is to win a race you really have to get everything right, and it really does come down to kind of split second decisions. If you go too late, you run the risk of being boxed in, and if you go too early, then you run the risk of your legs running out of energy before the line. So it's a really fine line between winning and losing, I think, when you're a sprinter.
And you obviously were already close on stage 2 when that sprint train looked almost pretty perfect for that lead out.
Yeah, it was perfect. I think just after that hard stage, I probably just went a little bit early, and I could really feel myself starting to die a bit in the last kind of 50 meters. So I think, if I had better legs, then I could have held on. But I can't really fault the guys. They were perfect, and it was just me that ran out of legs in the end.
I think one thing that I noticed, like in that sprint, usually maybe Klug is like a little bit later for you in that sprint train, and now he moved to the front quite early, and then you had Tosh and Jasper leading you out. Was that a conscious decision that you guys flipped some things around in that sprint train, or?
It was. For the first part of the season, I haven't had Jasper, so Rogers really had to kind of be last man or second last man all the time. But I think probably his best role would be almost in fourth man or also in third man as well. But he can just go for so long, and he's so powerful and so smooth that he's a great wheel to follow. And I think he can get Tosh and Jasper into good position to start their job. And I mean, that's probably one of the hardest parts is getting the whole team in position in that last final K.
Yeah, and obviously he nailed that sort of like on stage 2 already. Got the confidence from yesterday. So today it's all going to come together for that stage win?
I hope so. Yeah, obviously, that's what we're here for, to win a stage, and I've got a great team around me. So, we'll keep trying until hopefully it happens. You never know what's going to happen, but Yeah, I think everyone's going well, and I feel good as well. So yeah, I hope we can nail a stage win here.
Because today, obviously, a bit of a shorter stage, basically as flat as it gets this Giro. Maybe a couple of years ago, people would say flat as it is, that's perfect for Caleb. But nowadays, it seems like you're maybe getting like a bit to the punchy side, like on those difficult finales, that you're excelling and getting close to wins. Is it a sort of a transformation, or is it just you're getting more versatile?
I think maybe I'm just getting a little bit more versatile as I get older. I think as I get older, I'm getting a bit stronger, and that's just allowing me to get through maybe some of the harder stages a little bit better. But yeah, I mean, I still consider myself pretty much a pure sprinter, and yeah, I haven't had so much success on the flat sprints so far this year, but I think I was really lacking maybe last man, and I think now that Jasper's come in, I've got someone to really guide me through that last K, and I think that's really what I've been lacking. But yeah, I hope I can start winning some more flat, faster finishes soon.
And how hard was it when Jasper coming in? Maybe like we talked like this setup with Kluge, Tosh, and Jasper. Did you figure that things out like in training? How do you train on that, on getting that perfection?
Yeah, we did a lot of lead out kind of training in December in our team camp, but to be honest, it's completely different when it comes to a race, because in training you can't simulate the all the things that can go wrong that happens in a race. It's so hard to actually get a lead up perfect nowadays in racing, because there's so many strong teams, and everyone wants to do the same thing as you. So that's probably the hardest part about doing a lead out. So it's easy enough to do in training, because you've got no one getting in your way or anything. But yeah, in racing it's a little bit more difficult, and we haven't raced together so much, so it's going to be probably for the rest of the year. It's really going to be a process to kind of teach each other what to do and learn how each of us rides.
Yeah, and is it also like then in a Grand Tour that you go back and watch the tape, not only play it in your head, but also just go back and watch the tape and sort of like study it, what you guys could have done better, or?
Yeah, for sure. That's the great thing about having all our races on TV, is we can always go back and watch and see exactly what happened. But it's always easy to watch on TV from a helicopter shot, because you can see everything that's going on. But when you're actually in the race, you can basically just see kind of what's next to you and in front of you. So, it's definitely easier to analyze with a helicopter, but in the race it's completely different, and you don't really know exactly what's going on around you.
And is it now like when you get a couple of stages into a Grand Tour that you kind of like know from the guys around you, from the other sprinters, who might be the fastest or the main competitor, and you decide up front before a stage, this might be the wheel that I want to be in when that final kilometer comes? Or
I mean, you kind of know from the start of the race who's going to be going good, but I guess you don't really know who's going to be going the best until the race starts. But I don't think at the moment, with 4 stages into the Giro, there's no one that really stands out above the rest at the moment. And there's 2 ways you can really approach the sprinters. You can fully trust that your lead out man is going to deliver you, or you commit to following another train or following another sprinter. And I think now, with the team that we've got, I can pretty much trust to follow Jasper. He'll be my last man, so I can follow him and hope that he delivers me. And then if he comes up short, then he's smart enough to put me on a good wheel as well. So all I need to do really is follow him in the last part of the race, and we can adjust from there.
Yeah, it must be pretty cool for you to now being in those Grand Tours, knowing having the full backing of a team. Because obviously, one of the reasons that you moved now to Lotto Soudal, because Mitchelton Scott was moving in a GC direction a bit more, and you now having those dedicated opportunities, dedicated sprint lane for you in a Grand Tour, must be really exciting.
Yeah, it's really exciting. but as well, there's a little bit more pressure because yeah, the whole team's here to help you, and they basically rely on just me to get the results. We've got obviously good guys like Victor here who can have a go in the time trials and possibly get a win there, and then guys like Thomas as well that could go on the breaks and win from there like they've done before. But I think the main rider the team is trying to help win is me. And when you're in a team with a GC rider, you don't feel as much pressure because there's another goal for the team as well. It's not purely just you. So it's a bit of a strange feeling, but I prefer just to have the full team backing me, and I can take that little bit extra pressure anyway.
So if you're looking ahead to the next couple of days in the Giro, obviously today, definitely up your alley, like a short, flat sprint stage. Thursday and Friday, tricky, hilly finales, maybe even leave it. Yeah, we know you can surprise now in those difficult finishes, but is it maybe a bit too much on Thursday and Friday?
Yeah, they do look quite difficult. And I think the thing is, in a Giro field, there's so many strong riders, and they can make a final like that quite hard. But when it comes to finals like yesterday and the couple of days that you just mentioned there, it basically depends on how the bunch rides it. If they go super hard, then it's probably going to be too hard for me. But if it's a little bit easier, then maybe I can get through it. But yeah, I mean, we have to just go stage by stage and see what happens. And now my full focus is just on today. But I think today is not going to be so straightforward because it's such a short stage. There'll be a lot of guys that want to go on the break, and there's a good launching pad at the start. There's 2 climbs at the start that are going to be pretty difficult. So it's going to be quite interesting, the start of this race.
And then obviously Saturday is a really long day again. I think it's the longest stage of the Giro. Difficult final 100 kilometers in that one. And then you got Tuesday and Wednesday. Seems like the real sprint days for you. Is it? Do you know what you're going to do after Wednesday?
Well, not yet because I'm taking it day by day. But the last part of the Giro is super difficult, and to be honest, I can already start feeling my legs already. And we've got a few more really long stages to go and tough stages to go. So I'm also doing the Tour de France this year, so I can't dig myself too deep into a hole, this close to the Tour as well. So I think
could something be depending on the standings in the point classification, or is it not something that you're aiming for or looking at?
It's not something that I was really looking at coming into this race. I just came with the goal of trying to win some stages, and if that came with it, then great. But I mean, I don't know where I am on the classification at the moment. I mean, I'm not really thinking.
Not a big objective.
No, not at all, really.
And plus, there's a yellow jersey opportunity, like you mentioned in the Tour de France, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be nice racing in Belgium for the first part of the tour, being in a Belgian team, and I think there's an opportunity for a yellow jersey, and if I could get that, then that would be really like a dream come true.
But I think there's another special thing that could be happening during that Tour de France, isn't there? On the private front.
Yeah, I hope it doesn't happen during the Tour de France, but nature will tell. I don't know, but I'm hoping she stays in until after.
Yeah, so for the people who are wondering, you were about to become a father of a baby daughter, a baby girl. If we look ahead now for the rest of the season, you got the Tour de France coming up, and then I think you've got 85 race days lined up.
Yeah,
I think something that definitely makes sense then if you decide like this Giro might not be the one, might not be the first Grand Tour that I'm going to finish, but maybe the Tour de France, and then yeah, getting a nice, bringing home a nice present for that baby girl. That would be awesome. Hey.
Yeah, yeah, that would be the dream scenario. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Obviously, I really hope to finish the tour, and yeah, and then I mean the baby's due after the tour, so I hope she just comes on her due date.
Yeah. All right. We every episode of the Tacx Turbo Talks, we've got a fan question, and this time fan question we're going back to the sprinting. It's from @Rybro, if I say it correctly, from Instagram, and it was about your sprinting position. And he says, "What helps you maintain and perfect your sprinting form while training indoors, and how do you compare it to training outdoors? How do you work on that?"
On my sprint position.
Yeah, that arrow talk, almost.
Well, to be honest, it's now just quite natural for me to get into that position, so I don't actually need to train specifically for it. At the start, when I started doing the position, it was hard to think in a sprint to actually get in that position, because when you're losing power, you try to find more power, and to find more power, usually you become more upright. So it was hard to change my mind into when I'm losing power to go down lower. So that was the hardest part. But now, after I've done it so many times, it's just become, I guess, more natural. It just happens.
Have you tested it, like in terms of power, maybe, and even like the position for aerodynamica in the wind tunnel, or did you do power output tests, or?
Yeah, I did some tests in the wind tunnel to see the differences, and but I mean, you don't really need to test it to know that it's probably more aero than a normal sprinting position. So yeah, I did test it, but I mean, it told us what we thought it would. But yeah.
And do you notice that competitors trying to sort of like imitate you or mirror you, going more aero than they probably used to be? Do you see changes in other sprinters' form on the bike, or?
I think I do watch a lot of sprints, and I do see a lot of guys maybe sprinting with their head down a bit lower than normal, but I don't think anyone's really in an extreme position like me. But yeah, I mean, most sprinters know that they probably can have a benefit of getting a bit more aerodynamic. So I do see a lot of guys, like I said, with their head down a bit more, but I don't think it's really imitating me.
All right. Well, let's hope they won't imitate you all today as well when you get to that sprint finish, or at least, just make sure that you're more aero than them than they are, and get those watts down. Thanks, Caleb, for jumping on and making the time during the Grand Tour to have a chat with us on the Tacx Turbo Talk.
All right. Thank you for having me.
And wishing you all the best in the upcoming stages.
All right. Cheers. Thanks, Rob.
And that's it for this episode. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a rating and review on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, or wherever you're listening to the Tacx Turbo Talks. This was Rob Power with Caleb Ewan from Lotto Soudal. Stay tuned for a new Tacx Turbo Talk next week.